Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're going deep on Benjamin Franklin
Okay.
using the American History Tellers podcast episode you sent us.
Right.
Along with some other interesting pieces.
Yep.
We're going to uncover how he went from a loyal British citizen to a revolutionary leader and so much more.
It's striking that Franklin's journey wasn't, like a sudden leap, but more of a gradual shift influenced by key events and, let's be honest, some serious political drama.
The American History Tellers episode really highlights that turning point in London where Franklin, representing colonial interest, was publicly humiliated by British officials.
It was a big deal.
What was the impact of this event?
Oh, it was major.
Yeah.
A major blow to his reputation and standing within British society.
I see.
Imagine being subjected to that kind of public shaming.
Yeah.
This, coupled with Britain's increasingly harsh policies towards the colonies, really solidified Franklin's resolve to fight for independence. It's in this context that his powerful quote emerges. You may reduce their cities to ashes, but the flame of liberty in North America shall not be extinguished.
Wow.
It's powerful.
That really captures the spirit of defiance brewing in the colonies.
Yeah.
And speaking of defiance,
Okay.
let's talk about family drama.
All right.
Franklin's son, William, remained fiercely loyal to the crown,
Oh, wow.
even serving as the royal governor of New Jersey.
I see.
What insights can we gain from this father-son dynamic playing out against the backdrop of revolution?
I think it illustrates the deeply personal and often heartbreaking divisions that the revolution caused.
Right.
Father and son, once close, found themselves on opposite sides of a conflict that would determine the fate of a nation.
Yeah.
Their story underscores the complexity of the situation and the personal sacrifices demanded by the fight for independence.
The episode recounts their tense final encounter in 1775, fueled by wine and frustration.
Sounds intense.
William chillingly warned his father if he continued down this path,
Oh, wow.
the colonies would go up in flames and that his father would burn with them.
That's heavy.
How did this fractured relationship impact Franklin?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
While the source material doesn't delve into Franklin's emotional response directly, we can speculate that it weighed heavily on him.
Yeah.
Imagine the internal conflict he must have grappled with, fighting for a cause that alienated his own son.
Yeah.
This personal struggle adds another layer of depth to his unwavering commitment to the revolution.
Despite this personal turmoil,
Yeah.
Franklin was incredibly busy during this time.
He was.
He was elected to the Continental Congress,
Wow.
served as Postmaster General, developed a paper currency system,
Okay.
and even negotiated with Native American tribes.
That's a lot.
How did he juggle all of these responsibilities while navigating such a tumultuous period?
Well, Franklin was a master of organization and efficiency. His contributions to the Continental Congress alone were extraordinary.
Oh, wow.
He served on numerous committees, drafted key documents, and played a crucial role in shaping the direction of the burgeoning nation.
Right.
His ability to manage multiple complex tasks simultaneously speaks volumes about his intellect and dedication to the cause.
And let's not forget that amidst all of this, he helped draft the Declaration of Independence. What stands out to you about his contributions to this pivotal document?
You know, while many focus on his famous inventions and witty sayings, his subtle edits to the Declaration were brilliant.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I see.
By changing sacred and undeniable to self-evident, he shifted the argument for independence from divine right to reason and logic, making it more palatable to a wider audience.
I see.
This seemingly minor change had a significant impact on the document's persuasive power.
These subtle yet powerful details really illuminate Franklin's strategic mind. Now on to Franklin, the diplomat.
Okay.
The man who charmed his way into the court of King Louis VI
He did.
and secured crucial French support for the American Revolution.
It was amazing.
What can you tell us about this pivotal period?
Well, this was arguably his most significant achievement. It wasn't just about diplomacy. It was about understanding French culture and politics.
Yeah.
He cleverly cultivated the persona of a modest frontier philosopher,
I see.
aligning himself with French ideals of enlightenment and intellectualism.
Right.
This wasn't just clever marketing. It was a strategic masterpiece that won over the French people and ultimately secured their aid.
The American History Tellers episode mentioned how he became a celebrity in France, with his image appearing on everything from snuff boxes to rings.
Wow.
What was it about Franklin that resonated so strongly with the French?
Well, Franklin represented the ideals of the American Revolution, liberty, self-reliance, and a rejection of traditional hierarchies.
I see.
The French were enamored by his intellect, his wit, and his embodiment of the American dream.
Yeah.
This widespread popularity created a groundswell of support for the American cause within French society.
Wow.
Putting pressure on the French government to get involved.
And let's not forget the story about him wearing his old blue velvet coat.
Whoa, yeah.
The same one he was mocked in years earlier
Right.
to the treaty signing with the British.
A subtle act of revenge.
A subtle act of revenge.
I love it.
What did you say?
Absolutely. That seemingly small detail reveals so much about Franklin.
Yeah.
It demonstrates his sharp wit, his understanding of symbolic gestures, and perhaps a touch of mischievous satisfaction in having the last laugh.
He got them back.
It reminds us that even in the grand theater of history, personal narratives and emotions still play a role.
So we've seen Franklin the Revolutionary, the family man,
Right.
and the diplomat, but we can't forget Franklin the financial wizard.
Oh, right.
His negotiation skills were legendary.
They were.
He repeatedly secured critical funding from France,
Right.
especially when the revolutions seemed on the brink of collapse.
Yeah, crucial funding.
His understanding of finance and economics was crucial
Oh, absolute.
to the success of the revolution.
Yeah.
The source you provided mentions a tense meeting with the French foreign minister in 1781,
Oh, yeah.
where Franklin secured a loan of 6 million livres,
Huge.
which is roughly equivalent to about $250 million today.
Wow.
Can you elaborate on why this loan was so critical to the American cause?
Sure.
Okay.
The Continental Army was struggling, supplies were dwindling, and morale was low.
Okay.
This loan provided a much-needed lifeline,
I see.
enabling the Americans to continue the fight.
Yeah.
Franklin's persuasive abilities and understanding of international finance were instrumental in securing this critical support.
It sounds like he was essentially saying to France, if you want to weaken Britain, now's the time to invest in American independence.
Exactly.
What were some of the tactics he used to convince the French to continue supporting the American cause?
Well, Franklin brilliantly framed the American Revolution, not just as a colonial rebellion, but as a strategic opportunity for France to weaken its longtime rival.
I see.
He highlighted the potential benefits of an independent America to French trade and global influence.
Now, let's move on to Franklin's later years and his involvement in the Constitutional Convention and the abolition of slavery.
Okay.
How did his perspective evolve during this period?
In this phase, we see Franklin the elder statesman still active in shaping the nation he helped create.
Yeah.
His contributions to the Constitutional Convention were significant.
Oh, wow.
Particularly his ability to mediate between opposing factions and forge compromises.
I'm particularly intrigued by the story of the two-headed snake analogy.
Oh, yeah.
He used during the convention. Can you elaborate on that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
During heated debates about representation in Congress,
I see.
Franklin, ever the pragmatist, used the analogy of a severed snake that, despite having two heads, could not survive independently.
I see.
This effectively illustrated the need for unity and compromise among the states to create a strong and functional government.
Right.
His storytelling and ability to connect complex ideas to simple imagery were instrumental in facilitating consensus.
It's fascinating how he could take such a complex issue and make it relatable through a simple story.
It is.
Now, even though he owned slaves earlier in his life, Franklin later became a vocal advocate for abolition.
He did.
His anti-slavery petition to Congress in 1790, although rejected, was a powerful testament to his evolving views.
It was.
How do you reconcile this apparent contradiction in his life?
It's important to remember that people's views can evolve over time.
Right.
Franklin's shift on slavery reflects a broader societal shift towards recognizing its inherent injustice.
Okay.
While his early slave ownership is undeniably problematic, his later advocacy for abolition demonstrates a willingness to challenge the status quo and fight for a more just society.
It speaks to his capacity for self-reflection and growth.
It does.
His famous quote from the Constitutional Convention.
Oh, okay.
"A republic, madam, if you can keep it," still resonates today.
Yes, it does.
What do you think he meant by this statement?
I think it's a reminder that democracy is not a given.
Right.
It requires active participation, vigilance, and a commitment to the common good.
Okay.
Franklin understood that the success of the American experiment was not guaranteed and depended on the sustained efforts of each generation.
It's a sobering reminder of the fragility of democratic institutions.
It is.
Shifting gears a bit.
Okay.
I'm curious to hear more about Franklin's financial acumen.
All right.
The source material highlights his ability to secure funding from France when the revolution was on the brink of financial collapse.
Right. He was good at that.
What were some of the challenges he faced in this role?
Well, securing loans from a foreign power during a time of war is no easy feat.
Right.
Franklin had to navigate complex international relations, persuade skeptical lenders, and manage the already strained finances of the fledgling nation.
Right.
He also had to contend with potential accusations of treason from those who opposed seeking foreign aid.
It sounds like a delicate balancing act.
It was.
The source mentions that he repeatedly stressed the importance of financial stability to Congress, even stating that our present situation makes one of two things essential to us.
Okay.
A peace, or the most vigorous aid of our allies, particularly in the article of money.
Wow.
What does this reveal about his understanding of the revolution's challenges?
Well, Franklin recognized that the fight for independence wasn't just about military victories. It was also about economic survival.
Right.
He understood that without a stable financial foundation, the revolution would falter.
I see.
Regardless of battlefield successes.
So beyond his role in securing funds, what were some of the specific strategies Franklin used to manage the finances of the revolution?
Well, Franklin implemented a number of innovative financial measures.
Like what?
He helped establish a national bank,
Okay.
introduced paper currency, and streamlined the postal service to generate revenue.
Wow.
He also emphasized the importance of fiscal responsibility and accountability within the government.
His focus on financial stability seems remarkably prescient.
It does.
Given the economic challenges many nations face today.
Yeah.
Now let's dive a bit deeper into Franklin's diplomatic skills.
Okay.
You mentioned earlier how he cultivated the persona
Right.
of a modest frontier philosopher to appeal to the French. Can you elaborate on some of the specific tactics he used to win them over?
Sure. Franklin was a master of public relations.
Okay.
Centuries before the term was even coined.
I see.
He understood the power of image and carefully crafted his persona to resonate with French society.
Right.
He embraced their intellectual culture, attending salons, engaging in scientific discussions, and even adopting a simple, unadorned style of dress
I see.
that contrasted with the extravagance of the French court.
It sounds like he was a natural at building relationships.
He was.
And connecting with people from diverse backgrounds.
Yeah.
Did this approach extend beyond his interactions with the French elite?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Franklin's diplomatic skills weren't confined to formal negotiations. Right.
He was known for his charm, wit, and ability to connect with people on a personal level.
I see.
He understood that building trust and rapport was essential to achieving his diplomatic goals.
It seems like he recognized that diplomacy was about more than just official treaties.
It was.
It was about fostering genuine connections and building alliances through shared interests and values.
Precisely.
Now looking at the broader context of Franklin's life, it's interesting to consider how his experiences shaped his views on education and self-improvement.
Right.
The source material mentions his voracious appetite for knowledge
It does.
and his belief in the power of lifelong learning. What can we learn from his approach to personal growth?
Well, Franklin embodied the spirit of the Enlightenment, emphasizing reason, observation, and a constant pursuit of knowledge.
I see.
He was a firm believer in the power of self-education and continuous improvement.
His autobiography is filled with examples
of his self-improvement regimen. from his daily schedule to his list of virtues he strived to embody.
It is.
What do you find most compelling about his approach to self-betterment?
What's inspiring is his belief that anyone, regardless of their background or circumstances, could improve themselves through discipline, effort, and a thirst for knowledge. He demonstrated that learning wasn't confined to formal institutions that could be pursued throughout one's life.
His example is a reminder that learning is not just about acquiring facts, but about cultivating a mindset of curiosity and a willingness to challenge one's own assumptions.
Absolutely.
Now, while we've focused on his many accomplishments, it's crucial to acknowledge the complexities and contradictions within Franklin's character. We've discussed his shift on slavery, but what are some other aspects of his life that might challenge our modern sensibilities?
It's important to remember that we're viewing Franklin through a 21st century lens. Some of his actions and beliefs, particularly his early views on women and his involvement in certain political machinations, might seem problematic today. However, it's essential to understand him within the context of his time.
It's a reminder that historical figures are not flawless heroes.
They're not.
But complex individuals who lived in different times with different social norms and values. How can we engage with these complexities without diminishing his significant contribution?
It's about recognizing the nuances of history and understanding that individuals can hold conflicting views and make mistakes while still contributing to positive change. We can admire Franklin's intellect, his commitment to public service, and his role in shaping a nation, while acknowledging that his views on certain issues were flawed.
It's about seeing him as a product of his time, while also recognizing the enduring relevance of his ideas and accomplishments. Now, turning back to the American History Tellers episode. I was struck by the way it captured a drama and excitement of the Revolutionary period. It really brought the events to life.
It did.
The episode effectively uses storytelling techniques to engage listeners and make history more accessible. It highlights the human stories behind the grand events, making the characters and their motivations more relatable.
It does.
It also underscores the fact that history is not just a collection of dates and battles, but a tapestry of interconnected narratives, personal struggles, and triumphs.
Precisely.
And that brings us to an important point. The way history is presented can greatly influence our understanding of the past, the choice of narrative, the emphasis on certain events, and even the tone of the storytelling can shape our perceptions of historical figures and events.
They do.
It's a reminder to be critical consumers of historical information and to consider multiple perspectives when exploring the past.
It is.
Now, as we delve further into Franklin's legacy, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on his impact beyond his political and scientific contributions. How did he influence American culture and identity?
Franklin's influence on American culture is profound. He embodied the spirit of ingenuity, self-reliance, and practicality that became hallmarks of the American character. His writings, inventions, and aphorisms continue to be celebrated and quoted today.
His image is synonymous with American ingenuity.
It is.
From his experiments with electricity to his invention of bifocals and the Franklin stove. What do you think it is about Franklin that continues to resonate with Americans today?
His story embodies the American dream. The idea that anyone, regardless of their origins, can achieve success through hard work, determination, and a bit of ingenuity.
I see.
He represents the ideals of self-improvement, innovation, and civic engagement that are deeply ingrained in American culture.
His life is a testament to the power of individual initiative and the impact one person can have on shaping a nation. Now, I'm noticing another theme emerging from our discussion. The idea of compromise. From his diplomatic efforts to his role in the Constitutional Convention. Franklin seems to have been a master of finding common ground.
He was.
And bridging divides. What lessons can we learn from his approach to conflict resolution?
Franklin understood that achieving progress often requires setting aside ideological differences and finding solutions that benefit the greater good. he was willing to negotiate, to make concessions, and to seek common ground even with those who held opposing views.
His ability to forge compromises seems particularly relevant today.
It does.
Given the increasing polarization and division within our own society.
Absolutely.
Franklin's approach reminds us that meaningful dialogue and collaboration are essential to addressing complex challenges.
They are.
His example underscores the importance of listening to different perspectives, finding common ground, and working together to find solutions that benefit the whole.
Yes.
It's a timely reminder that progress is often incremental.
It is.
And requires a willingness to engage with those who hold different views.
Right.
Now, let's shift our focus to another aspect of Franklin's legacy. His scientific contribution. From his experiments with electricity to his meteorological observations. He seems to have had an insatiable curiosity about the natural world.
It did.
Franklin's scientific pursuits weren't just about intellectual curiosity. He was driven by a desire to understand the world around him and to use that knowledge to improve people's lives. His inventions and discoveries were often motivated by practical concerns.
They were.
His invention of the lightning rod, for instance, was a direct response to the dangers posed by lightning strikes.
Makes sense.
What were some of his other notable scientific contributions? And how did they impact society?
Well, Franklin's contributions to science are numerous. His experiments with electricity led to a greater understanding of its properties and paved the way for future innovations in the field.
I see.
His meteorological observations led to a better understanding of weather patterns. His work on ocean currents improved navigation and maritime safety.
It's remarkable how his scientific endeavors
It
span such a wide range of disciplines.
Right.
He seems to have had an unquenchable thirst for knowledge.
He did.
And a remarkable ability to apply his findings to practical problems.
I agree.
Indeed. Franklin's scientific legacy lies not just in his specific discoveries, but in his demonstration of the power of observation, experimentation, and the application of knowledge to solve real-world problems.
It does.
His approach to science seems to mirror his approach to life in general. A blend of curiosity, pragmatism, and a commitment to making a positive impact on the world.
Precisely.
And that brings us to an important question. How can we apply Franklin's example to our own lives? What lessons can we draw from his multifaceted career, his personal growth, and his commitment to public service?
That's a great question to ponder.
That's a great question to ponder.
Yeah.
Before we dive into that, I think it would be helpful to explore one final aspect of Franklin's character, his humor. The source material mentions his wit and his use of satire as a tool for social commentary and political persuasion. Franklin was a master of humor.
He was.
Using it to engage audiences, disarm opponents, and convey complex ideas in a relatable way. His Poor Richard's Almanac, for example, is full of witty aphorisms and proverbs that are both entertaining and insightful.
It's a good read.
It's interesting how he could use humor to address serious issues without diminishing their importance. Can you give us some specific examples of how he incorporated humor into his writings and speeches?
One of my favorite examples is his essay, Rules by Which a Great Empire May Be Reduced to a Small One, in which he satirizes British policies towards the colonies, using irony and wit to expose their absurdity.
I see.
He also frequently employed humor in his personal correspondence, often using self-deprecating anecdotes to connect with his readers.
It seems like he understood that humor could be a powerful tool for communication.
It can be.
Persuasion, building rapport. Absolutely.
Franklin recognized that humor could make complex ideas more accessible. Disarm critics and foster a sense of connection with his audience. It's a reminder that even in the midst of serious matters, there's always room for a little bit of laughter.
Absolutely.
Now, as we wrap up this exploration of Franklin's life, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on his lasting legacy. What is it about Benjamin Franklin that continues to captivate our imaginations centuries after his death?
Well, Franklin's legacy is multifaceted. He was a scientist, an inventor, a writer, a diplomat, a politician, and a philosopher. His contributions to American society are immeasurable.
Wow.
But perhaps his most enduring legacy is his embodiment of the American spirit.
Okay.
The belief in self-improvement, innovation, and the pursuit of a more perfect union.
His story is a testament to the power of individual initiative.
Is the importance of lifelong learning and the enduring relevance of core American values.
And as we reflect on Franklin's life and legacy, I think it's important to remember that he was not just a historical figure, but a human being, flawed, complex, and ultimately inspiring.
His story reminds us that even amidst great challenges and personal shortcomings, individuals can make a profound impact on the world.
They can.
And as Franklin himself once said, lost time is never found again.
That's a good one.
Perhaps his greatest lesson is the importance of seizing the moment. Pursuing our passion. And striving to leave the world a better place than we found it.
That's a good one.
Now, before we wrap up this deep dive, I wanted to touch on one element we haven't addressed yet. Those podcast ads you included in your stack. There are a couple from Wondery, the network behind American History Tellers.
I see.
It's interesting how these ads reveal the broader landscape of history podcasts. There's clearly a huge interest in understanding the past.
There is.
And these ads, with their intriguing titles and captivating descriptions, highlight just how diverse those historical narratives can be.
They do.
They range from Hollywood scandals to mass hysteria.
Interesting.
Showing that history is so much more than just dates and battles. It's about human stories, both triumphs and tragedies, and ultimately our ongoing quest to understand ourselves and the world around us.
It's also fascinating to see how these ads themselves are crafted. They use storytelling and sound design to pique our curiosity, reminding us that history, when presented in an engaging way, can be absolutely captivating.
Thinking about how those ads grab our attention, it reminds me of Franklin's own skill as a communicator. Whether through his writing, inventions, or diplomatic maneuvering, he knew how to connect with people.
He did.
And make a lasting impression.
It's true.
What do you think was the key to his effectiveness?
Well, Franklin was a master of understanding his audience and tailoring his message accordingly.
I see.
Whether he was addressing a crowd of colonists, negotiating with French officials, or writing for a popular audience in his almanac, he knew how to choose the right words, the right tone, and even the right image to make his point resonate.
You mentioned his almanac earlier. It's packed with those witty sayings and observations that people still quote today. What made his writing so effective, and why do you think it continues to hold up over time?
Well, Franklin's writing was clear, concise, and often infused with humor. He had a knack for distilling complex ideas into simple, memorable phrases. And while the language might feel a bit archaic to modern ears, the underlying wisdom and wit still shine through his observations about human nature. The importance of hard work and the value of common sense remain timeless.
He could be both insightful and incredibly funny.
He could.
Which is a rare combination.
It is.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today, from revolution to diplomacy to finance to science to even a bit of pop culture with those podcast ads.
I like it.
As we wrap up, what would you say are the most important takeaways from Franklin's life? What can we learn from his example that's relevant to our lives today?
Franklin's life offers so many valuable lessons. First and foremost, he embodies the power of lifelong learning. He never stopped seeking knowledge, experimenting, and pushing the boundaries of his understanding.
His constant curiosity and willingness to try new things is truly inspiring.
It is.
What else stands out to you?
He also understood the importance of civic engagement and using one's talents to make a positive impact on the world. Whether he was drafting documents, inventing practical devices, or negotiating for the good of his nation, he was driven by a desire to make a difference.
I see.
It's a reminder that we all have the capacity to contribute to something larger than ourselves.
And it's not just about grand gestures.
It's not.
Franklin also demonstrated the importance of small, everyday actions. His focus on self-improvement, his commitment to community service, and even his simple advice for living a virtuous life all show that positive change can start at the individual level.
Absolutely.
Franklin reminds us that we don't have to be revolutionaries or world leaders to make a difference.
We don't.
We can start by being engaged citizens, lifelong learners, and simply striving to be the best versions of ourselves.
Yeah, I think that's a perfect note to end on.
So as we conclude this deep dive into the extraordinary life of Benjamin Franklin, we encourage you to keep exploring, keep learning, and most importantly, keep striving to leave your own mark on the world.
It's good advice.
Until next time.
I agree.
Until next time.